Imagine what it would feel like to stop carrying invisible weight. To lie down tonight without your mind racing. To wake up tomorrow without that familiar knot in your stomach. What if I told you that right now you're holding on to things that were never yours to carry? And that letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means coming home to yourself. This is Echoes of Dharma, and for the next hour, we're going to explore something remarkable together. These aren't just beautiful ideas or feel-good philosophy. This is practical wisdom that has helped people find peace for over 2,000 years. You don't need to sit perfectly still or follow along perfectly. You can listen while you work, while you rest, even as you drift towards sleep. These teachings will meet you wherever you are. We'll start with a story about a man who carried stones all day long, even after he set them down. Then we'll discover why water never fights with rocks, and what a tea master knew about storms that changed everything for his students. By the time we finish, you'll understand something profound. The peace you're searching for isn't somewhere else. It's not dependent on your problems being solved or your life being perfect. It's already here, waiting beneath the noise. So, settle in. Let your body find its natural rhythm. You don't need to fix anything right now. You just need to listen. And perhaps, without even trying, you'll begin to feel a little lighter. There once was a man who worked carrying stones from one side of a village to the other. Every morning, he would load heavy rocks into his cart, push it across town, and unload them at the construction site. It was honest work, and he took pride in it. One evening, as the sun was setting, a travelling monk noticed something peculiar. The man had finished his work hours ago. His cart was empty, parked beside his small house. But his shoulders were still hunched forward, his back still curved as if he were pushing that heavy load. Even as he sat eating dinner with his family, his body carried the shape of his burden. The monk approached gently and asked, "Friend, I watched you work today. You moved many stones with great effort. But now your work is done. Your cart is empty. Why do you still carry them?" The man looked confused. "I'm not carrying anything," he said, glancing at his empty hands. "Look at your shoulders," the monk said softly. "Feel your back. Your body remembers the weight, even though the stones are gone." For the first time, the man noticed. His shoulders were indeed tight, pulled forward by the memory of pushing. His jaw was clenched from hours of straining. Even though he had set down his physical burden, something invisible remained. This is what Buddhist teachers call the second arrow. The first arrow is what happens to us in life. Someone criticizes us, we face a disappointment, we encounter a problem. That's the first arrow, and it's unavoidable. But then we do something remarkable. We pick up that arrow and shoot it at ourselves again and again. We replay the conversation where someone hurt our feelings. We rehearse what we should have said. We carry their words with us long after they've forgotten them. We take yesterday's stress and drag it into today's peace. We take tomorrow's worries and let them steal tonight's rest. The stone carrier's body tells us something profound about how we live. Most of us are walking around with invisible weight. The argument from last week that we're still having in our heads. The mistake from last month that we're still punishing ourselves for. The fear of what might go wrong tomorrow that's making our chest tight right now. In Zen Buddhism, there's a teaching about two monks walking in the rain. They come to a muddy crossroads where a young woman in fine clothes stands stranded, afraid to ruin her kimono. Without hesitation, the elder monk lifts her and carries her across. He sets her down gently on the other side and continues walking. For miles, the younger monk walks in agitated silence. Finally, he can't contain himself. How could you touch that woman? Our vows forbid it. What you did was wrong. But the elder monk looks at him with gentle eyes. I put her down at the crossroads, he says quietly. You're still carrying her. This story lives in each of us. How many crossroads are we still standing at? How many burdens are we carrying that we set down long ago? How many stones are we pushing that exist only in our memory? The mind has a strange habit. It collects experiences like a museum collects artifacts. But instead of putting them behind glass to admire occasionally, we strap them to our backs and carry them everywhere. The hurt from childhood, the failure from 5 years ago, the fear of what people think, the need to prove ourselves worthy. Buddhist psychology recognizes this as one of the roots of suffering. We don't just experience pain. We cling to it, analyze it, replay it, and make it part of our identity. We become the person who was hurt, the person who failed, the person who isn't good enough. And then we wonder why we feel so heavy. But here's what the stone carrier discovered that night. Once he became aware of the invisible weight, he had a choice. He could continue carrying it out of habit, or he could consciously set it down. Not by pretending it never existed, but by acknowledging what it was. A memory, a thought, an old pattern that no longer served him. He stood up slowly, rolled his shoulders back, and took his first free breath in years. The stones were still at the construction site where they belonged, but he was here, in this moment, carrying only what was real. Right now, as you listen to this, notice your own shoulders. Feel your jaw, your chest, the place between your eyebrows. What invisible weight are you carrying? What old stones are you still pushing around? You don't have to figure out how to put them down just yet. For now, it's enough to simply notice they're there. Awareness is the first step to freedom. And freedom, as we'll discover, is as close as your next breath. There's a place where I used to sit when life felt impossible. A small park by a river, with a bench under an old oak tree. I'd go there when everything seemed to be going wrong at once. When I felt like I was pushing against the entire world and losing. One afternoon, feeling particularly defeated, I noticed something. The river never stopped moving, but it never seemed to struggle. There were rocks in its path, fallen branches, even an old shopping cart someone had dumped there. But the water didn't fight any of it. It simply flowed around, over, through. This is what Zen masters call Wu Wei. It's often translated as non-action, but that's misleading. It's not about doing nothing. It's about moving with such naturalness that effort becomes effortless. Like water finding its way to the sea. Think about your last argument. Maybe it was with someone you love, Someone you were trying to convince of something important to you? Did you feel like you were pushing against a wall? The harder you pushed, the more they resisted. The more evidence you presented, the more firmly they dug in. You were being the boulder, not the water. A student once asked her Zen teacher, "Master, why do I feel exhausted all the time? I meditate. I try to be good. I work hard to improve myself. But I'm always tired." The teacher took her to a river. "Tell me," he said, "does this water look tired to you?" She watched the current flowing smoothly around the rocks. "No, Master. It looks effortless." Exactly. Now, imagine if this water decided it didn't like that rock. What if it stopped and argued with it? What if it spent all day trying to convince the rock to move? The student laughed. "That would be ridiculous, Master. The water would stop flowing. It would become stagnant." "And yet," the teacher said gently, "this is how you move through your life. You stop at every rock and argue with it. You try to push away everything that doesn't match your preferences. No wonder you're exhausted." This teaching isn't about becoming passive. Water is one of the most powerful forces on Earth. It carves canyons, shapes coastlines, moves mountains. But it does so without resistance, without anger, without the need to prove anything. It simply follows its nature. In your relationships, what would it mean to be more like water? Instead of trying to change people, you'd find ways to flow with who they actually are. Instead of fighting their opinions, you'd listen deeply enough to understand where they're coming from. Instead of pushing against their resistance, you'd create space for them to soften naturally. At work, when plans fall apart and deadlines shift, what if you responded like water, finding new routes instead of lamenting the blocked path? Adapting your approach instead of insisting the old way was better. Using obstacles as opportunities to discover something you couldn't have seen before. Buddhist teaching tells us that suffering comes from wanting reality to be different than it is. The Pali word is tanha, often translated as craving or thirst, but it's more subtle than wanting things. It's the resistance to what's already here. The mental argument with the present moment. When you have a headache, notice what happens. First, there's the physical sensation. Then, almost immediately, there's the resistance. This shouldn't be happening. I don't have time for this. Why today? The headache might cause discomfort, but the resistance causes suffering. Water doesn't resist the shape of its container. It takes the form it's given and finds peace in that form. Pour it into a cup, it becomes a cup. Pour it into a vase, it becomes a vase. This isn't weakness. This is profound wisdom. There's a difference between acceptance and resignation. Resignation says, "I give up, nothing matters." Acceptance says, "This is what's here now. How can I work with it skillfully?" Water never gives up. It always finds a way forward. Sometimes the way forward is patient. Water can sit still in a lake for years, waiting for the right conditions to flow again. Sometimes it's gentle, like morning dew that transforms a landscape drop by drop. Sometimes it's powerful, like a river in spring that moves everything in its path. But it's always responding to what the moment requires, not forcing what the moment resists. Right now, think of one area in your life where you've been pushing against a rock. Maybe it's a person who won't change. Maybe it's a situation that won't resolve. Maybe it's something about yourself that you've been fighting for years. What would it look like to flow around it instead? Not to give up on what matters to you, but to find a different path. Not to stop caring, but to care without clinging. Not to become weak, but to become fluid. The river that ran past my bench taught me something I'd never learned in any self-help book. Strength isn't about how much force you can apply. It's about how gracefully you can navigate whatever appears in your path. It's about moving forward without creating unnecessary friction. It's about finding your way to the sea, no matter what obstacles arise. And just like that river, you too are always flowing towards something larger than yourself. The question isn't whether you'll arrive. The question is how much peace you'll find in the journey. Master Tanaka had been preparing tea for 40 years. Every morning at dawn, he would arrange his simple tools with the same careful attention. The bamboo whisk, the iron kettle, the ceramic bowl passed down from his teacher. Students would gather to watch this daily ritual, finding peace in its quiet precision. One morning, a fierce storm rolled across the mountains. Rain hammered the roof of the tea house. Wind rattled the wooden walls. Thunder crashed overhead like breaking mountains. The students huddled nervously, jumping at each lightning flash. But Master Tanaka continued his ceremony. His hands moved with the same unhurried grace. He heated the water to the precise temperature. He whisked the tea in perfect circles. He served each student with the same gentle bow, as if the world outside were perfectly calm. "Master," whispered one student, "how can you be so peaceful when everything is chaos?" Tanaka smiled and gestured toward the window. "Tell me, does the storm change the nature of tea? Does thunder make water any less wet? Does lightning alter the taste of these leaves?" The student shook his head. "The storm is outside," Tanaka said quietly. "The tea is here. I am here. Which should I give my attention to?" This is one of the most profound teachings in Buddhist psychology. Emotions are weather, not climate. They pass through us like storms across a landscape. We are not the anger, the sadness, or the fear. We are the sky that holds them all. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by emotion. Maybe it was anger after someone cut you off in traffic. Maybe it was anxiety before an important meeting. Maybe it was sadness that seemed to come from nowhere on a Tuesday afternoon. In that moment, the emotion felt like everything. It colored your entire world. But where is that emotion now? If you're honest, it's probably gone, or at least much smaller than it seemed. It passed through you like weather passes through sky. The sky doesn't fight the storm. It doesn't try to push the clouds away. It simply provides space for whatever appears. In Buddhist understanding, this space is called awareness. It's the part of you that notices you're angry without becoming the anger. The part that observes sadness without drowning in it. The part that watches fear without being paralyzed by it. This awareness is always available, even in the strongest emotional storms. Western psychology has discovered something remarkable about emotions. When you experience a feeling without trying to change it, it typically lasts about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. The initial chemical flood of emotion moves through your body and naturally dissipates in less than 2 minutes. What keeps it going longer is your story about it. I shouldn't feel this way. This is terrible. What if it never stops? I must be weak to feel like this. Why can't I handle things better? These thoughts are not the emotion itself. They're the resistance to the emotion. And resistance is what turns weather into climate. Master Tanaka understood this intuitively. He didn't pretend the storm wasn't happening. He acknowledged its presence without letting it disturb his inner ceremony. He neither fought it nor fed it with attention. He simply continued being present with what he was doing. There's a practice you can try right now. Sit quietly for a moment and scan your body. What emotions are present? Maybe there's a low-level anxiety about tomorrow. Maybe there's irritation from earlier today. Maybe there's just a vague restlessness. Whatever you find, don't try to change it. Instead, imagine you're the sky and this emotion is a cloud. Notice its shape, its color, its density. Is it a dark thundercloud of anger? A grey fog of sadness? A bright but scattered cloud of excitement? Just observe it without judgment, the way you might watch actual weather from a window. Now, notice something else. You are not the cloud. You are the vast space that contains it. The cloud may be intense, but it cannot fill all of you. There's always more sky than weather. And weather, by its very nature, passes. This doesn't mean emotions aren't important. They carry information, like weather carries information about atmospheric conditions. Anger might tell you a boundary has been crossed. Sadness might signal that something valuable has been lost. Fear might alert you to pay attention. But you can receive this information without becoming overwhelmed by it. The tea master knew something that took me decades to learn. Peace isn't the absence of storms. It's the ability to remain centered while they pass through. It's discovering that no matter how intense the weather becomes, there's always a place inside you that remains untouched. Clear and spacious as an open sky. So, the next time emotion storms through your inner landscape, remember Master Tanaka. Continue your tea ceremony. Stay present with what you're doing. Let the weather be weather. And trust that the sky of your awareness is vast enough to hold it all. There was once a farmer whose only horse ran away. His neighbors rushed to console him. "What terrible luck," they said. "How will you plow your fields?" The farmer simply nodded and said, "Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows?" The next day, the horse returned, leading 7 wild horses with it. The neighbors celebrated. "What wonderful fortune," they exclaimed. "Now you're the richest farmer in the village." Again, the farmer replied calmly, "Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows?" 215.com, 250 nay. His son began training the wild horses and was thrown, breaking his leg badly. The neighbors shook their heads in sympathy. "Such misfortune, your poor son." "Maybe good, maybe bad," the farmer said quietly. "Who knows?" Days later, army recruiters came through the village, conscripting every able-bodied young man for a brutal war. They passed by the farmer's son because of his broken leg. The neighbors marveled at his luck. And the farmer? Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? Thanks for watching, and maybe 6. This ancient parable contains one of the most liberating truths in Buddhist philosophy. We spend enormous energy trying to predict and control outcomes that we can never fully understand. We label experiences as good or bad, lucky or unlucky, based on such limited information. But life is far more mysterious and interconnected than our judgments allow. Most of us have been taught that uncertainty is the enemy. We're supposed to have 5-year plans, clear goals, definitive answers. When someone asks what we want to be when we grow up, I don't know, feels like failure. But what if not knowing is actually a doorway to freedom? Think about the last time something didn't go according to your plan. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted. Maybe a relationship ended unexpectedly. Maybe you had to move when you didn't want to. At the time, it probably felt like a disaster. But can you see now how it led to something you couldn't have planned? In Zen, there's a concept called beginner's mind, or shoshin. It's the attitude of openness and lack of preconceptions that a beginner naturally has. When you don't know what's supposed to happen, you're free to notice what actually does happen. When you don't have fixed expectations, you can't be disappointed by life surprises. Children understand this instinctively. Watch a toddler encounter something new. They don't approach it thinking, this should work this way, or this ought to do that. They explore with pure curiosity. Every moment is an experiment. Every outcome is interesting. But somewhere along the way, we learn to fear the unknown. We start believing that not having answers makes us weak or irresponsible. We begin to think that uncertainty equals danger. So we construct elaborate plans and predictions, trying to eliminate the mystery from life. And then we suffer when reality refuses to cooperate with our forecasts. Buddhist teaching offers a different relationship with uncertainty. Instead of seeing it as a problem to solve, it invites us to recognize it as the very nature of existence. Everything is in constant flux. Nothing remains the same. Change is the only constant. And this isn't a bug in the system of life. It's the feature that makes growth, surprise, and wonder possible. When you stop fighting uncertainty, something beautiful happens. You become more present. Instead of living in your projections about the future, you pay attention to what's actually unfolding right now. Instead of being disappointed by unmet expectations, you become curious about unexpected developments. Instead of feeling anxious about what you can't control, you find peace in responding skillfully to whatever appears. There's a meditation you can practice with this. The next time you catch yourself worrying about how something will turn out, pause, take a breath, and try saying what the farmer said, maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? Notice what happens in your body when you say this. Does the anxiety loosen just a little? Does the need to figure everything out right now become less urgent? You're not being irresponsible or naive. You're simply acknowledging the truth that none of us really know how any story will end. This doesn't mean you stop making plans or setting intentions. It means you hold those plans lightly. You do your best with the information you have, then remain open to course corrections along the way. You plant seeds without demanding specific flowers. You show up fully without insisting on particular outcomes. The farmer in the story wasn't passive or fatalistic. He continued to farm, to care for his family, to participate in life. But he did so without the exhausting burden of thinking he could predict or control the larger forces at play. He trusted that life has its own intelligence, its own timing, its own mysterious ways of unfolding. And in that trust, there's a profound kind of peace. The peace of not having to know everything. The peace of being surprised. The peace of discovering that uncertainty isn't your enemy after all. It's the space where miracles live. Old Master Chen had tended the same small garden for 30 winters. Every morning, he would walk among the bare branches and frozen earth with the same careful attention he gave to spring's first blossoms. Visitors often asked him why he bothered. "There's nothing growing now," they would say. "Why not wait until something beautiful appears?" Master Chen would smile and kneel beside a dormant rosebush. "Tell me," he would ask, "is this moment less perfect because the roses are sleeping? 0. 5. Is winter less real because it's not summer?" Then he would gently brush snow from a branch. "Everything this garden will ever become is already here, resting in this moment. I am simply present with what is." This is perhaps the most radical teaching in all of Buddhist wisdom. Right now, in this very moment, you are not waiting for your life to begin. You are not in the in-between time before something better happens. This moment is not a stepping stone to somewhere else. This moment is your life. But we've been taught to live elsewhere. I'll be happy when I get promoted. I'll relax when the project is finished. I'll feel peaceful when the kids are older. I'll start living when I lose weight, find love, pay off debt, retire. We treat the present moment like a waiting room, killing time until the real show begins. Buddhist mindfulness, or sati, is the practice of coming home, not to a place, but to a time. This time, the only time that actually exists. It's the recognition that every moment you spend waiting for later is a moment of your actual life that you're missing. Right now, as you listen to these words, notice what else is happening. Feel the weight of your body against whatever you're sitting or lying on. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Hear the sounds around you, whether it's traffic, birds, or the hum of appliances. This isn't background noise interfering with the important content. This is your life happening. The mind has a strange relationship with time. It's almost never here. It's replaying yesterday's conversations or rehearsing tomorrow's presentations. It's analyzing what went wrong or planning what might go right. Meanwhile, the only place where peace actually lives, where joy can be felt, where love can be given, is right here in the present. And we keep missing it. There's a Zen saying, "You are perfect as you are, and you could use a little improvement." This isn't contradiction. It's pointing to the paradox of being human. Right now, in this moment, you are complete. Nothing is missing from your essential nature. And yet you can still grow, learn, and change. But that growth happens here, now, not in some imaginary future when you finally have everything figured out. Master Chen understood that winter is not summer's failure. It's winter's perfection. Your current circumstances are not your ideal life's rough draft. They're your real life happening right now. This doesn't mean you stop having goals or making improvements. It means you stop postponing your peace until conditions are different. The present moment has been called the gateless gate. There's no entrance exam to pass, no special qualification needed. You don't have to be calm, happy, or wise to be present. You just have to be here. Angry and present is better than happy and absent. Confused and present is better than certain and distracted. Because presence is the foundation of everything else. Try this simple practice. Take 3 conscious breaths. Not deep or special breaths, just breathing with awareness that you're breathing. On the first breath, notice you have a body. On the second, notice you have thoughts and feelings. On the third, notice you have awareness that can observe both body and mind. This awareness, this noticing itself, is always present. It's your home base, available every moment of every day. The sanctuary of the present moment isn't a place you visit occasionally when you remember to be mindful. It's where you actually live. Your thoughts about the past are happening now. Your worries about the future are happening now. Your memories, your plans, your dreams, they're all arising in present moment awareness. There literally is nowhere else to be. But presence isn't passive. Master Chen didn't just stand in his garden, spacing out. He was actively engaged, tending what needed attention. Presence means showing up fully for what's actually happening, not what you wish were happening or what you fear might happen. It's the difference between living your life and thinking about your life. When you're washing dishes, wash dishes. When you're talking to someone, be with them completely. When you're walking, feel your feet touching the ground. These simple acts become doorways into a deeper way of being. Not because they're special activities, but because you're bringing your full attention to them. The paradox is that the more present you become, the less you need to change about your circumstances to feel content. Like Master Chen finding perfection in winter, you begin to discover richness in moments you previously dismissed as ordinary. The taste of water when you're thirsty, the feeling of clean sheets against tired skin, the sound of rain on the roof, the simple miracle of breath moving in and out of your body. Your life is not a dress rehearsal for some future performance. This is it. This moment, with all its imperfections and incompleteness, is your one wild and precious existence unfolding. Master Chen knew that every season has its own gifts, and every moment of your life, even this one, is exactly where your sanctuary waits. In the mountains of Japan, there lived a mother bird who had raised dozens of chicks over many seasons. Each spring, she would build her nest with the same tender care. She would sit patiently through storms, warming her eggs with her own body. She would fly countless miles gathering food for her young. And then, when the time came, she would do the hardest thing any mother does. She would push them from the nest. A monk who often walked the mountain path had watched this cycle many times. One day, a young seeker asked him, "Master, doesn't it seem cruel? The mother works so hard to protect her babies, and then she forces them out. How can this be loving?" The monk smiled gently. "Tell me, what would happen if she kept them in the nest forever?" 1. 5. The seeker thought for a moment. They would never learn to fly. They would become weak and dependent. They would never discover their own strength. "Exactly," the monk said. "Sometimes the deepest love looks like letting go. Sometimes holding on is the cruelest thing we can do." This teaching touches one of the most challenging aspects of human love. We've been conditioned to believe that caring means controlling, that love means holding tight. But Buddhist wisdom reveals a different truth. The deepest love is spacious enough to allow freedom. It trusts rather than grasps. It supports rather than suffocates. Think about someone you love deeply. Now, notice the subtle ways you might try to control them. Maybe you worry when they make choices you wouldn't make. Maybe you offer unsolicited advice because you can see dangers they don't. Maybe you feel hurt when they don't need you as much as you need them. These impulses come from genuine care, but they can become invisible cages. In Buddhist philosophy, this clinging is called upadana. It's often translated as attachment, but it's more specific than that. It's the mental grasping that tries to make permanent what is naturally impermanent. When we cling to people, we're not loving them as they are. We're loving our idea of who we need them to be. True love, what Buddhists call metta, has a quality of open-handedness. It offers support without strings attached. It gives without keeping score. It cares without needing to control the outcome of that care. Like the mother bird, it provides safety until strength is found, then creates space for flight. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or distant. The mother bird doesn't stop caring when her chicks leave the nest. She simply stops confusing protection with prevention. She understands that her job isn't to shield them from all challenges, but to prepare them to meet challenges skillfully. In your own relationships, where might you be holding too tightly? Maybe it's with your children, trying to save them from mistakes you made. Maybe it's with your partner, needing them to change in ways that would make you feel more secure. Maybe it's with friends, feeling hurt when they don't always include you or seek your advice. Each of these is understandable, but each also carries the seed of suffering. There's a practice in Buddhist meditation called loving kindness or metta meditation. It begins with offering goodwill to yourself, then gradually extends to others. But the phrases used are telling. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be free. Notice that last one. May you be free. Not, may you choose what I think is best for you. Not, may you need me always. May you be free. This freedom includes the freedom to make mistakes, to learn through experience, even to walk away if that serves their highest good. It includes the freedom to grow in directions you didn't anticipate. It includes the freedom to surprise you, to change, to become someone different than who they were when you first loved them. Releasing with love also means releasing your own need to be needed. The ego finds identity in being indispensable, in being the one who solves problems or provides comfort. But true love celebrates when its gift is no longer necessary. Like a good teacher who rejoices when students surpass them, or a therapist who celebrates when clients no longer need therapy. This kind of release is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice, sometimes a moment-to-moment practice. Each time you feel the urge to control, to fix, to hold tighter, you have an opportunity. You can pause, breathe, and ask yourself, is this impulse serving their freedom or my fear? The mother bird doesn't push her chicks from the nest in anger or indifference. She does it with the same love that protected them in the egg. She trusts what she has given them. She trusts their innate capacity to fly. She trusts that love doesn't require possession to remain real. And perhaps most radically, she trusts that letting go is not the end of relationship, but the beginning of a new kind of relationship. One based not on dependence, but on choice. One that honors the truth that we are all just visiting each other's lives for a while. And that the deepest gift we can offer is the space to become who we're meant to be. Right now, think of someone you've been holding too tightly. Take a breath and imagine opening your hands around them. Not pushing them away, just opening your grip. Notice what that feels like in your body. This is what releasing with love feels like. Scary and free at the same time. A renowned scholar traveled many days to meet Master Joshu, having heard of his profound wisdom. The scholar carried with him years of study, dozens of certificates, and the certainty that comes from knowing many things. He had read every sacred text, memorized countless teachings, and debated with the finest minds of his time. Surely this old monk would recognize his accomplishments and share the deepest secrets. When he arrived, Master Joshu invited him for tea. They sat quietly in the simple tea room while the master prepared the ceremony with unhurried hands. Finally, the scholar could contain himself no longer. "Master, I have come seeking the highest teachings of enlightenment. I have studied the sutras, practiced meditation, and understand the nature of emptiness. Please share with me your most advanced wisdom." Master Joshu nodded and began pouring tea into the scholar's cup. He poured steadily, filling it to the brim. But he didn't stop. Tea overflowed onto the saucer, then onto the table, then dripped onto the floor. "Master," the scholar cried, jumping up. "The cup is full. No more can go in." "Yes," said Joshu quietly, setting down the teapot. "And like this cup, you are full of your own knowledge and opinions. How can I show you anything new until you first empty what you think you already know?" This story strikes at the heart of why we struggle to find peace, to grow, to change. We approach life with full cups, full of certainty about how things should be, full of expertise about our own problems, full of stories about why we are the way we are and why others are the way they are. And all of this fullness leaves no room for anything fresh to enter. Buddhist teaching speaks of something called don't know mind or beginner's mind. It's not ignorance or foolishness. It's the willingness to approach each moment without the burden of preconceptions. It's the recognition that the more certain we are that we understand something completely, the less likely we are to see it clearly. Think about an argument you've had recently. Notice how quickly your mind formed its position, how efficiently it gathered evidence to support what you already believed, how automatically it dismissed information that challenged your view. Your cup was full of being right, leaving no space for curiosity about the other person's perspective. Or consider a habit you've tried to change. Maybe you've told yourself the story so many times. I'm just not a morning person, or I'm bad with money, or I always mess up relationships. These stories become identities, and identities become prisons. The cup of self-knowledge becomes so full that there's no room for the possibility of becoming someone different. Emptiness in Buddhism doesn't mean void or vacant. It means spacious, open, available, like an empty room that can be used for any purpose, or fertile soil that can grow any seed. When your mind is empty of rigid opinions, it becomes capable of wisdom. When your heart is empty of old resentments, it becomes capable of love. This emptying is not a loss. It's a return to your natural state of openness. Children have this quality naturally. They approach each day without yesterday's conclusions weighing them down. They're endlessly curious because their cups aren't full of what they think they already know. The practice is simple but not easy. When you catch yourself being certain about something, pause. Ask yourself, what if I don't know everything about this situation? When you feel stuck in an old pattern, wonder, what would be possible if I wasn't bound by my story about myself? This is why meditation begins with stillness and silence. Not because emptiness is the goal, but because emptiness is the starting point. Only when the cup is empty can it receive whatever the moment has to offer. Only when the mind is spacious can it discover solutions that a full mind would never see. Master Joshu's lesson wasn't about humiliating the scholar. It was about liberation. The scholar's knowledge wasn't wrong, but his attachment to it was limiting him. When he finally understood and emptied his cup, he became capable of receiving not just tea, but the vast wisdom that flows when we stop thinking we already know everything. Your cup is in your hands right now. What are you ready to pour out? We've walked together through ancient stories and timeless wisdom. From the man who carried invisible stones to the mother bird who taught love through letting go. From rivers that never fight rocks to empty cups ready to receive whatever comes. Each story pointing to the same gentle truth. Peace isn't found by controlling life, but by flowing with it. You don't need to remember everything we've explored today. These teachings aren't meant to be collected like trophies, but absorbed like water into dry earth. They'll work in you quietly, in their own time, in their own way. What matters most is this: you already have everything you need to find peace. It's not hidden in some distant monastery or secret practice. It's as close as your next breath, as available as this present moment, as simple as opening your hands and releasing what was never yours to hold. Tonight, when you lie down to rest, remember the tea master who found stillness in the storm. When worries arise tomorrow, recall the wise farmer who knew that maybe good, maybe bad, who knows. When someone frustrates you, think of water flowing around stone. When you feel the need to control, remember the empty cup that receives everything. These aren't just beautiful ideas. They're invitations to live differently, to walk more lightly through your days, to carry less weight that isn't yours, to trust the unfolding of your life even when you can't see where it's leading. If this hour brought you even a moment of peace, consider sharing it with someone who might need these words. If you'd like to continue exploring this path together, you'll find more teachings waiting here at Echoes of Dharma. But remember, The deepest wisdom isn't found in videos or books. It's discovered in the living of your ordinary days with extraordinary presence. May you be gentle with yourself as you practice letting go. May you trust what leaves and welcome what comes. May you find peace not in perfect circumstances, but in the perfect completeness of this moment, just as it is. Thank you for allowing me to walk beside you on this journey. The path continues with your next breath, and your next choice to release what you cannot control. The Dharma lives in you now. Let it guide you home. For those who wish to stay a little longer, let's rest together in silence. There's nothing more you need to do right now. No problems to solve, no plans to make. Just this breath and this moment. Feel your body settling deeper into whatever supports it. Notice how your shoulders can drop just a little more, how your jaw can soften, how your breath can slow to its natural rhythm. If thoughts arise, that's perfectly natural. Let them come and go like clouds drifting across an open sky. You are the sky, vast and unchanging. The thoughts are just passing weather. In this quiet space, there's nothing to achieve, nothing to become. You're already complete, just as you are. Rest in the peace that's always been here, waiting beneath the noise. This peace that doesn't depend on circumstances being perfect. That doesn't require you to be different than you are. Just breathe and let go. And know that you are held by something larger than your worries. The teachings we've shared will continue their work in you, quietly, gently. Trust that process. Trust this moment. Trust yourself. When you're ready, when the time feels right, carry this stillness with you into whatever comes next. But for now, there's nowhere else to be. Just here. Just this. Just peace.